Thank you so much for staying with us here on Morning Live. Now, recently, women in law were honoured at the inaugural WOZA Awards, but the industry remains dominated by men. And if we see big cases, very few women are the prosecutors and even fewer defence attorneys. And although there are still developmental challenges, a few female lawyers are hoping to make their mark in the pro bono and human rights arms of the law practice in South Africa. And National Practice Head and Director at Cliffe Dekker Hofmeyr, Jacquie Cassette, joins me now to talk more about this. Jacquie, thanks so much for coming through.
Thank you, Sakina, and thank you for inviting me to join you.
So we've had these awards now, these WOZA Awards, but just generally, just give us a sense of the landscape as it pertains to women in the law space.
Sakina, I think we've made tremendous progress in the profession and as a nation generally in promoting gender justice. And so we've seen an incremental increase in women's participation in the profession. Statistics show that, in fact, over half of the law graduates are females and that they are mostly excelling. And at the lower levels of the profession, I think women perhaps are over 50%, but it's at the higher levels of the profession where I think women struggle, and there's an attrition rate which is disconcerting. And I think if you look at the higher levels of the profession, the senior managing partner level, and in particular in the advocates profession, the number of women silks is of concern. And I think those are the questions we need to be asking. Why is it that women are still struggling to make it to the upper echelons and to remain and stay and make their mark at the highest levels of the profession? Even the Constitutional Court, I see the Honourable Chief Justice was here a little earlier, and I have great respect for him. But even on the Constitutional Court, we only have 3 permanent women judges, as opposed to 6 males. And so there's still work to be done.
Indeed. But I'm sure you would have, thought about this, maybe even written about it. What are some of these challenges? Why is it that women are struggling? What are the impediments?
I think some of them are simply the same impediments that women face generally in our society. There are still, I think, deeply ingrained social prejudices, stereotypes about women and their role in society, their ability to perhaps be good lawyers. I think there's still a notion that in order to be a successful lawyer, you need to be an aggressive male character, which I think is just simply wrong. It's a misperception of what the qualities of a good lawyer are. And I think there's still a bit of a boys' club environment. So it's hard for women to break through into that environment. But I do think there are also just systemic and infrastructural concerns and problems. Women, childcare facilities are often not present. Women, unless they've got a very well-defined support network, struggle to be a mom and to be a high-level professional. It's a hard job. It's a very all-consuming job. It's an extremely responsible job, and it requires a lot of time and dedication. And unless you have got a very secure and strong support system around you, it's hard for women to be able to compete with men who very often will have wives at home looking after them and looking after their families, for women to put in the hours. And then I just think there's a perception around women's contribution.
But they are making a mark in the pro bono space, and I was asking you about this off air, and you indicated to me that there are in fact more women in that space.
I would say that that's correct, yes, and it's an interesting phenomenon. There are a few big law firms like ours who have set up pro bono units, pro bono practices, and by and large they're headed by women, and by and large I would say the majority of the women servicing those practices are women. So in our instance, I head up the national practice here at Cliffe Dekker Hofmeyr. 2 of my senior associates are women. We are very proud to say that we have an amazing young man, Gift Nrabo, who is an associate in our practice. But yes, it is dominated by women, and I think one has to ask why.
That is the million-dollar question. Why?
Well, I think think on some levels, I think it's a good thing, and in other ways, I think it reflects the perception about the role of pro bono lawyering in South Africa. I think there is a perception that the real and important work is that's being done in the commercial sector, and the deals and the transactions and representing corporate clients, and of course that is highly important. But I think that people underappreciate how important it is that the poor people in our country who would not otherwise be able to afford legal representation can be provided with representation. And very often it is the pro bono lawyers who are bringing really important constitutional human rights related cases on behalf of the poor, which are shaping the foundations of our constitutional jurisprudence and who are having an incredible impact on assisting in the rollout of human rights. And so for me, in fact, that is of fundamental importance. There couldn't be anything more important in my eyes, as far as lawyering is concerned. And so I think it's just simply underappreciated because perhaps there's not a lot of money attached to being a pro bono lawyer.
Well, Jacquie, thank you so much for highlighting that, because I am inclined to agree with you that that is, in fact, perhaps the most important facet given our country and the circumstances we find ourselves in. Thank you so much to National Practice Head and Director at Cliffe Dekker Hofmeyr, Jacquie Cassette, talking to us about women and law, especially in the pro bono and human rights space and the work that they do there. It's over to Leanne now for Democracy.